Hello everybody, this is Danny Mathematics again. I just want to go over example 9 and possibly example 10 of how to solve multi-step equations, okay? And other than the difference between number 9 and number 10 versus number 8, number 7, number 6 is we're going to have to also distribute within the problem. So that's going to be an extra step, and that's going to be actually our first step, okay? So number 9, we have 8 times parentheses x minus 1 parentheses close minus 2x equals a negative 1. Whenever you just see a negative sign, right, or no sign, and there's a parentheses, it's an automatic 1. So in this case, it's an automatic negative 1. So it's going to be negative times parentheses x plus 50 parentheses close, okay? So the first thing that we want to do is we want to distribute, meaning that these values that are attached to the parentheses, right? These values that are attached to the parentheses, we're going to multiply these values by each value that's within the parentheses, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we want to do 8 times x, which is 8x. All right, and then after that, we got to do 8 times negative 1, which is negative 8. Okay, so we're good with that distributive property. Now we're just going to bring down this negative 2x, or minus 2x rather. Okay, so we're good on this side. All right, now we're just going to distribute the other side, and then we can actually start with the steps that we're used to. Okay, same thing over here. Remember, since it's a negative sign on the outside, it really is a negative 1. Okay, so it's going to be a negative 1 times x, which is negative x. And then, of course, negative 1 times a positive 50 is a negative 50. So it's going to be minus 50. Okay, so now we have successfully distributed the whole equation, and now we can combine like terms, okay? So now let's combine like terms. 8x and negative 2x are like terms. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 8x minus 2x, which is 6x. So now we just have 6x minus 8. We bring the 8 down on this side, and we still have negative x minus 50 on that side, okay? Now, what we can do is we can go ahead and label each side, because remember, I always talk about the values that are in the relationships. The values that are in relationships are the values that are connected together because there's an operation between them. Like, for example, 6 and x are in a relationship, and they have an operation between them because it's actually saying 6 times x, okay? There's actually a negative 1 and x. There's a relationship right there, so I just like to put a heart to represent that. And of course, negative 8, you don't see no variable attached to negative 8, so it's single, right? Same thing as negative 50. So what we want to do is we want to label our different sides of the room. So we're going to draw a fence going through the equal sign, and we're going to label this side the relationship side. So all the values that are in relationships, right, operational relationships, we're going to put it on the left side in this case. And then all the values that are just by themselves, they're single, we're going to put them on a single side, okay? So now we're just going to go down the row. 6 times x, right? The relationship is multiplication, right? They are in a relationship and they're on their correct side. Negative 8 is not in a relationship, so we got to move it to the single side by doing the inverse, which is positive 8. So a negative 8 and a positive 8 cancels out, so I have a negative 50 plus 8, which equals a negative 42. So now I'm just going to move everything else down because we're getting more and more simplified. So I still have a negative x, and then once again, negative 50 plus a positive 8 is a negative 42. Okay? All right. Now, once again, 6x is on this appropriate side. Negative 42 is single, it's on its appropriate side, but negative x is not on its appropriate side because it's really saying negative 1 times x, and that's a relationship, right? So the opposite or the inverse of negative x is a positive x. So we're going to plus x plus 1x on both sides. This cancels out. Now this becomes 7x equals negative 42, okay? So the last thing we want to do is, once again, it's actually saying 7 times x. So that means that the relationship between 7 and x is based on multiplication. But if they're going to break up at the end, because they have to break up in order for x to find out its value, it has to be the inverse of multiplication, which is division, okay? So we're going to divide 7 away from x. So we're going to divide 7 on both sides. 7x divided by 7 is just x. And then negative 42 divided by 7 is a negative 6, okay? So this is example number 9, okay? Next time I will go over example 10, and also leave a comment under the video if you want me to do a particular example moving forward. Thank you. I'll talk to you next time.